were supposed to do, they would take it and put it on the roads and then motor grade it into the roads. And we also had a little blue Ford tractor with a rake behind it, and we would take that tractor and run up down the roads on top of this and stir it into the dust. And once you cover it, of course, if you mix oil and dust together, the dust is going to stick to the oil. And that was what they did, was try to get rid of it by doing that.
You take where the trams come out, the charges come out of your cylinder. If we loading cars and the car's on this track, we might just push the tram on this track and the apprentice comes in the middle. That way you take them straight off of the thing. Well, if they're dripping, they drip around. We just take the backhoe, put the flat end bucket on it, dig it all out, take it, shuffle it down the road, put some new dirt over it, cover it up. Nobody said nothing.
The wood went inside trams to be going into the cylinders, and those trams had reservoirs right above the wheels, and each reservoir held about 2 or 3 gallons of that creosote. When the cylinders filled up, they filled the trams up also. And when they carried the trams over to be unloaded, they would leak onto the ground while they were taking the wood out of the trams. And that's what you see right there, is a leak out of the tram. And that's a tire track. If you look at those tire tracks, you can tell just about how big a spill that is just out of one tram. Imagine 12 trams coming out and doing that every day, 3 times a day. On the average, those trams leaked out about 8 to 10 pounds of creosote every time they sat there, per tram. Several trams came out in a charge. About 12 trams come out in a charge. So you 12 times 3, it give you an idea of how many trams hit that ground at least every day. About 36 trams a day times 8 or 10 pounds.
The trams would be bad and they would wreck right in the middle of the road. And so every time they got ready to bring wood across, they would tell our operator to come up there and stand at the road. So if any wood fall out the tram or in the street or in the ditch, most of the time it would wreck just as you get across the road in the ditch.
Many times that trams would actually wreck in that street, explode the freshly treated wood onto the road and flip the trams over and like creosote on the road. And on top of that, the ditches on either side of the street.
I have pictures that can prove that this stuff was dumped on the ground. I can show you trails of creosote right down a nice clean road that's dumped on the ground, and then a motor grader came through and ground it into the dirt. All you see is black, long black stripes down the road, and the next thing you see is a nice clean road. So where did it go? Into the road. And everybody can tell you they saw it. That was a daily thing. That wasn't a weekly thing or a monthly thing or a yearly thing.
So y'all had spills every day?
Every day. And had to, and
so y'all, are you telling me Kerr McGee should have been calling EPA almost every day?
Almost every day. According to their documents, anything over a pound, you're supposed to call the EPA.
One night I was called out to get a wreck out the cylinders where when the wood be in the cylinders being treated, sometimes the wood would float up out the tram, and then when they get ready to pull it up, the locomotive get ready to pull it out, it would wreck. And I bring this machine in and get it out. Sometimes we had to go up in the cylinder and use a tire pick and pull the stuff out. And that night, I guess the treating operator was asleep or something, and he let the tank fill up and it overflowed and then ran down the ditch. And then the plant manager called just about all the maintenance supervisors, and I was at the shop pit personnel, and then he sent one of the employees out to the jungle and bought up all the washing powder they had, and we put washing powder, oil dry, all the way down the ditch from the Flamingo, right there by it's a ditch when you come in from the Flamingo, downside the plant, all the way down to 14th Avenue to the back gate almost, putting washing powder because creosote got loose, and I know it at least about a couple 100 gallons or better.
I've seen quite a few.
Tell me about one of the biggest ones you seen.
The one behind the mill where Columbus Machine was doing something to a pipe or something behind there, and the pipe busted or something, and creosote went everywhere. That's the biggest spill I ever seen. I mean, they stayed there till late in the night trying to clean that stuff up.
Well, one of the worst violations that I saw, lots of them I saw, but one of them I saw, they're taking out a creosote tank in the tank farm in the back by the wooden fence, and it had probably 300 or 400 gallons of creosote in it, and they were told to pump that tank out, you know, and they knew to do that because it was full of creosote. Well, Columbus Machine came in there, ripped the tank out, picked it up, brought it over onto the ground, and it hadn't been pumped out like it was supposed to, and the environmental people were supposed to check it at the plant, never checked it because they were gone to lunch. And so Columbus Machine reached over, grabbed that tank, pulled it up, and creosote just started running everywhere. All right. Me and another supervisor were there during lunch, and we tried to call assistant plant manager or the plant manager. Like I said, they were gone to lunch, and try to get this stuff cleaned up, you know, because it was running everywhere. All right. It was, you know, hours after that before anything even happened. So this was continually running into the ground at that time. All right. Then finally, they sent somebody back there to start shoveling up and putting it into drums. Okay. And one thing they used to do with all that creosote is, and I have pictures of that, is they would take the creosote, scoop it up with a backhoe, take it, dump it on all the roads in the plant instead of hauling off. And then they'd take a motor grader, because it was so dusty and dirty out there, you know, sand and gravel and everything, and just mix it in until it dried out or it was buried.
I've seen a couple of spills. I had one out at night on call, and you would get out and there would be creosote in the street, and it'll be flowing to the ditch that run to the city. And we would put down a washing pile and different other stuff and take fire hoses and wash it down, you know, and at that rate it never would be reported.
We had one, when all the corporate was there, they hit a pipe and creosote was just flooding out the back gate while we were in the middle of a meeting. And they went running out there and putting down what they call was socks, trying to absorb some of it up, but it was flowing out of a 2-inch pipe out the back gate fast as it could go. So they ended up digging up the ground out there behind the back gate and all kind of stuff, you know, trying to stop it before it got into the water supply, and ended up getting the pipe stopped and everything, you know.
So now you said corporate was down. You mean
Right.
the corporate, Kerr McGee corporate people?
Right, Bob Mickle, Jim Sanders, they were all there for a meeting. They usually came down once or twice a year and had a meeting with the whole plant, telling us, as a matter of fact, we're having a safety and environmental meeting then. They come down and tell you all about safety, all about environmental, how the company's doing as a whole. And they were all there then, Greg Alexander, Jim Sanders, Bob Mickle, they were all there then.
So somebody hits a pipe, and what do the corporate guys do?
Panicked, pretty much. When they come in and told them, there's a creosote running out the back gate, everybody just stopped the meeting, everybody went outside and started trying to get it up as fast as we could, you know.
Now, we heard that story from someone else, and they said they had gone home that night and they saw the plant manager on television saying, we had a small spill today, maybe a gallon got away. Do you recall any of that?
Yes, I remember, yes. But there was a river flowing out the back gate.
So the plant manager basically went on television and lied.
Evidently, yes. Yes.
When you say a river, guesstimate for me how much creosote you think got away.
Well, a 55-gallon drum, I mean, that, just to give you an idea of how much creosote, you know, a lot of people know what a 55-gallon drum is, okay? They filled up at least 10 of those trying to get it gathered up. So there was at least 10 of those gathered up within a few-minute period. And that's not counting the dirt that was contaminated and the stuff going out into the water supply.
So you're
Like
saying
that.
over 500 gallons?
Correct.
That was a major spill.
Major spill, yes.
Do you think it, you know, I know you said that they were trying to dig it up to stop it from going to the water supply. What do you think happened?
Well, it was trying to go out the back gate. There's a drain, a big drain outside the back gate out there that's in a lot out there. And that creosote was headed out down the drainage ditch into that drainage hole out there. And they ended up digging up the ground out there and trying to get to the drainage hole and all that. Had guys down with 5-gallon buckets trying to catch it before it got into the drainage hole and all that. Of course, you know, it's hard to stop that much stuff coming at you at one time, you know. So did the best they could, and whatever left, you know.
In one incident, we was having like a